Well, there we go. Okay, hi, I'm Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I tried that like 30 seconds ago, and it said your broadcast failed. That's never happened. All kinds of other weird things have happened, but not that one. All right, so I guess, yeah, there I am. All right, life is good. So, I have been playing with a new product, and I love the masks, and I know that a lot of my customers who come to my coffee and a card class in particular really like the masks, so we're going to show you those. We haven't had any new ones in a while that I can really remember, or at least not this type, the decorative masks. All right, just checking everything. It's looking good. All right, I've got things on my lap. So it's been quite a day. I managed to catch the stray cat that I have been feeding. Okay, it said trying to reconnect. Now I'm here again, but I was frozen for a second. I hope this doesn't keep happening. All right, either way, here we go. I'm gonna put the camera down. And let's see what we're looking at here. Well, we're looking at a mess. We don't need to see a mess. I have finally figured out the best way to do this, but the camera's flopping again. I hate when it flops, and I never really understand why it flops. And it said trying to reconnect again, and now it says I'm back. Okay. There's a very strange noise coming from the wall next to me, which is concerning because I just had like thousands of dollars worth of plumbing work done. And the wall to my left is also the back of my shower wall. So I hope that's nothing to worry about. Alrighty, so it is January week. So this is the host code for the month of January, and if you make a purchase during this month, please use this host code. If your order is under $150 before shipping and handling, I always say that backwards. And if your order is under $150, then please use the host code, because then I can earn some rewards. If it's over $150, don't use it, because you will earn some rewards. All right. So daily creative prompts calendar. All right, and a big thank you to Cheryl, who answered one of the questions. Let's see, they're always the ones that are in pink that you can win a prize for. Oh, and it said it was, do you have any craft-related New Year's resolutions, and share one to win a prize. So Cheryl did share one, and actually I'm just going to talk to Cheryl and see what she would like to have, because I have a couple of things that I was planning on giving away as prizes this January, so that could just be one of them. She can pick her own. All right, so we are using the linked together hefty bundle in terms of what it comes with. So the bundle comes with, and I'm missing something already. Why am I missing something? Oh, I'm missing something because I'm using it. So the bundle comes with the stamp set called Linked Together. It comes with this Starstruck, I was calling it Starburst. It's Starstruck, oh my gosh, embossing folder, which I showed you last week. This is not one of the 3D embossing folders. It's very pretty. It comes with these dies, which I have not played with yet. So I showed all of these things to you last week. Tonight we will just be using the masks and some of the sentiments, and that is it. So I used my, where did I put it? Oh, Roberta. Who knows what I did with it? All right, well, that's right. I clipped it to the wall next to me so that I couldn't possibly lose it. So we have the color coach that I have showed you in the past, which is a set of cards. And I like the color coach a lot. This is different. It's a color wheel. They are calling the other color coach or not, because I know I have had customers who wanted that color coach from me. I have it as a download, and I can send it to you, not this one, but the one on the cards, and you can print those off yourself if you so choose. It takes a lot of paper and a lot of ink, so if you aren't into doing that, I will charge you $15 and I will print off a set for you. This one you can buy in the catalog as well. It's a little bit different. Usually they're right over here on my left, and I'm not seeing them but I think I have showed them to you before. I'll try to remember to get them next time. So the color coach works a lot like a color wheel does, where it lets you know what are complementary colors. So complementary colors may go well together on, let's say, a card, but if you're painting and you mix complementary colors, you're going to get mud. So they want you to know that. If you mix ink even on a card, you're going to make mud unless you let each separate color dry. I hope that makes sense. I always say this wrong. Analogous colors are colors that, I'm trying to remember now how to define that. Oh, I don't know that I know how to define it to you. And then there are monochromatic colors, which are colors that are very much in the same color scheme, like Misty Moonlight, Blueberry Bushel, Night of Navy, and so on. And you can move this around to find out what you want it to do. So there were also these triadic colors. I realized that when I turned that around, I was seeing 3 different things. And I thought, well, that might be kind of cool to play with. So I turned it here on the greenish blue section, and I got that Pretty Peacock, Lost Lagoon, and Coastal Cabana would be good. Shaded Spruce was also on the other side of that, so you could use Shaded Spruce, Pretty Peacock, oh my gosh, and Lost Lagoon. And I actually decided to pull out all 4, and I'll explain why when we get to doing that. And then I turned it around because I was interested in some reds or pinks, and I came up with, now on this side they are showing 4, which is weird because the hole is actually smaller. They call them triadic, but they're showing 4. So they're showing Berry Burst, Fresh Freesia, Bubble Bath, and Melon Mambo. So I got those colors out. It was definitely a bit of an experiment. I sort of learned as I was going. So the way these go is that they are numbered, and I marked them with a like a Sharpie marker because otherwise the numbers are hard to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have notches in them, and what you can do with the notches is to, if you're using them one on top of the other, which you really might not do, you would line the notches up. The other thing you could do would be to make a pencil mark, so you line the notches up. So let me show you what I did when I played. So when I played, I got out the black, thinking that that would be my darkest color. Then I got out the Lost Lagoon, thinking that would be sort of my middle color, and Coastal Cabana for my lightest color. But as I started experimenting, I realized that at least in one case I needed a darker color. So I grabbed the Shaded Spruce. All right, and I cut a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in quarters so that each piece is 5.5 by 4 and quite the size of a card front, so I can cut these down. And then what I did was I played with them, but I wrote notes. So I got myself out a Post-it note, and as I played, I wrote notes. So number 1, and this is number 1, was a mixture of mask number 1, which gave us that, okay, mask number 1, and I did that in Pretty Peacock. It was very obvious to me that my Pretty Peacock needed re-inking, by the way, but I didn't do it yet. And then I lifted it up and put down mask number 2. And mask number 2 was Lost Lagoon. So because my Pretty Peacock wasn't as dark as it could have been, and because I didn't kind of an offset sort of a shadow effect, I think you can see that. And I think it's very cool looking. I like it even if it wasn't perfect. And then of course the areas where the mask covered completely, those areas are white. So I liked that one. Then I went on to number 2. And for number 2, I used Lost Lagoon. I started out using Coastal Cabana and realized that for this one, I needed to go from light to dark. So that's another thing to think about. On number 1, I started with the darkest color. And for number 2, that wasn't going to work. So for number 2, I used masks number 1 and 3. Okay, masks number 1 and 3. So when you fit them on top of each other, you see that they are basically the same shape, but this one leaves a wider space between them, and it is smaller. So this is what happens. So I put the Lost Lagoon down first as a lighter color, didn't line it up perfectly, you can see that I didn't, and then used the, oh, I know what it was. I used the Lost Lagoon And then the Coastal Cabana was too light, so I changed it to shaded spruce, which I'll put those down on top. So again, it's a little offset because it wasn't even, yet interestingly enough, it was even up at the top, so I must have had it angled a little bit because at the bottom I kind of lost it and it wasn't even, but I'm still happy with the way it looks. It's a unique look. For number 3, I went from light to dark, and I started with Lost Lagoon with, again, number 1. Okay, they call these masks. To me, they're stencils, but it doesn't matter. So I started with number 1 and shaded the whole thing using my blending brushes. Guess I should tell you that, right? Now, if you don't have blending brushes, oh my gosh, if you don't have blending brushes, you could, hey Amy, how are you? You could certainly use even makeup sponges. Either the triangular ones, I have one right here. My new favorites, though, are the ones that kind of look like an egg. I'm going to eat them for putting on makeup too. Much better than these. But you can use what you have. So with the egg-shaped sponges, you could actually go around and around in circles. With this, I would do more of a dabbing kind of a technique, just because it has that flat surface. But that's entirely up to you. But I used our blending brushes, which come in packages of 3. You can either get 3 large or 3 small. All right, and then after I was done doing that whole thing in Lost Lagoon, I came in with Pretty Peacock, which was a darker color, and mask number 5. Now, see, if I had written this down, so then I came in with, okay, these nails. So I ripped 2 of them off today in the process. Okay, lost you for a second there again. In the process, I pretty much ripped off my fingernails. I don't think I'll ever get artificial nails again. They're just really a pain and very obviously very bad for your nails. Anyway, so then I put this one down, and this one is kind of like a pretty lacy pattern. So then I got this, which I also think is very pretty. And this time I was right spot on with lining it up because I was a little bit more careful. Okay. And then the last one, I went from dark to, I just went from light to dark. I just forgot to write the D. I went from light to dark. It's my daughter's birthday card. I put it someplace where I wouldn't forget it because I'm going to see her on Sunday and I have to give it to her. Okay, I went from light to dark, and I started out with mask number 1 again and Coastal Cabana. And I did the entire thing in Coastal Cabana. There we go. The whole thing in Coastal Cabana, and then I lifted that up, and then by this time I had re-inked. Oh my gosh, see, you can't do a thing with these nails on. And then the others, I can't do anything with them because my nails are just non-existent now. Okay, so this is mask, oh my gosh, this is mask number 4. All right, so mask number 4 basically colors the bottom half of each one of those little diamond shapes. I used tape. You can see when I'm using tape, I just throw the tape on whatever's nearby. So there's all the tape. I taped down both the paper and the mask, all right, just to make sure that nothing wiggled and jiggled, and then I still kept my hand on it. So that's that combination, and I'm sure that there are others as well, but that's how I started. All right, so let's just move along. Ugh, the nails. Hate the nails, just saying. All right, so now I did grab some, I made some card insides. I grabbed a couple of scraps of some different ones. Those are for the insides too. And then I grabbed all of the colors, or almost all of the colors that I used. I think I didn't grab Shaded Spruce. So I've got Pretty Peacock, Lost Lagoon, and Coastal Cabana there. Okay. So basically what we're doing here is deciding how we're going to make our card and what's going to go on our card. So we have choices right now between these 3 colors for a card base, or actually we could do all of them, couldn't we? And these for our layers. All right. And well, I'm really not unhappy with any of them. This one is lopsided, but I'm still not unhappy with it. Doesn't matter. So we're obviously would have to cut these down, and just let me see, just as a way of using something different, what I can show you is that aside from just trimming them down, well, hang on, we'll do it this way. I'm just going to take one of these and trim it down to your typical card base size, which is 4 by 5 1/4. But because of what I did here, I'm going to have to be careful. You know what? I may have to make it smaller. I'm just going to start sort of trimming a little bit, because the edge on that is kind of large. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do 4. So let's try the 3 3/4 by 5, which is the next size going down. All right, and even that's not quite getting over that. So that's going to be an issue if you want to use a 4 by 5 1/4 card base. Not that I think it's really important. So we're going to go with 3 and, let's try 3 5/8 and see if that works. Okay, so that works, 3 5/8, and then probably instead of this being 5, it's going to have to be something else. 3 5/8 by, so this was supposed to be 5, so we're going to do 4 7/8. Okay, so 4 7/8. So again, this gives us a couple of, oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I'll try not to sound so frustrated with the nails, but I don't know how people function with these nails. I guess if you've had them for years, you learn how to function, but it's ridiculous. Okay, so we could use this as a card topper just as it is. No problem there. But this was number 2, and on number 2, actually I used shaded spruce. I didn't even use this color, so let's see. I used number 2. I used Lost Lagoon and shaded spruce. So how about if we take the Lost Lagoon? No, that's not the Lost Lagoon. What happened to the Lost Lagoon card base? There it is. Good grief. All right, so let's not use that one. Let's use Lost Lagoon. And then I don't mind a card base with a wider border around it, but if you didn't like a wider border and that just wasn't what you wanted to do, I'm wondering if I actually have, that's Pretty Peacock, which I didn't use in this. Not that it matters. So then how about, just to, so that you can kind of see both, all the options, if we make this one 4 by 5 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4, not 4 1/4. Woohoo, that would have been bad. 4 by 5 1/4. So this is just an option, not something you really have to do. It's just an option. And then you could put this underneath, Lost Lagoon, and then put this on top, leaving a slightly bigger border of the Pretty Peacock. So then you've got a more layered card, which I think always makes the card look just that much more elegant. So we've got that. We can certainly do that. And then I did cut out a couple of things in those colors. I think this one is Pretty Peacock. So this is from the set, Wishing You a Happy Day. All right, so we could break those up that way. We could, if we wanted to, take a piece of Pretty Peacock. Sometimes I do a strip this way. We could do a strip this way. I don't think we want to cover up too much of that because it's awfully pretty. So let's do that. All right, let's do that. Oh, come on. Oh dear, some of these glues I have not used in a while, I'll have to admit. So they may need a little TLC. Okay, just give them a little cleaning out there. And we'll try that again. This one must be getting empty because I hit glue, but it's not quite there yet. Ah, good grief. All right, let's see how this one's doing. I used a lot of glue in my journals this week, and it's all downstairs on my little kind of TV tray in the family room where I work on things while I'm watching TV. Okay, there we go. pretty peacock going on to Lost Lagoon, and they certainly do complement each other. You just don't want to mix them together if it was paint or ink, because then you will have a mud pie. Bone folder. Okay, oh, my hands are sticky now. All right, and then we're going to put this one on top of that. So this was number 2. A wider margin. You know what I'd kind of like to do, of course, the sticky stuff is on top. I'd really like to, just for my own, whatever you want to call it, keep these together if possible. So I'm just going to throw this in here for now. And then the thing to do, let's see what I've got here in the way of dimensionals. So I said I would make 3 cards, and I actually will have the makings to make 6 cards, but we'll see if I can get the 3 done. And then I can always post. Right, I think I want to put the first one on first. That makes sense, right? So this cat has been, I swear somebody dumped her off here. The first day that I saw her, she's a long-haired cat, and long-haired cats are just a hot mess, basically, if they're not brushed pretty regularly. They get mats, and they look like you might look if you just got out of bed and hadn't combed your hair in a week or something. It's not pretty. So, and she looked like she stepped right out of the beauty parlor. So I just, wasn't convinced that she'd been a stray. So I put her picture all over Facebook and on some of the, the groups like Paw Boost and Lost Pets of the Finger Lakes, and nobody claimed her. And then a person from Shortsville said, my gosh, she looks a lot like my cat. But her cat, I guess, was a trap neuter release cat, but was her cat. And she not only, we're going to the vet tomorrow to see if she has a chip in her. It would be so nice if she was that lady's cat, but that's like, I don't know, 10 miles from here, maybe a little bit more. So I'm wondering about the whole thing, like how she got here. Okay, so then we're going to put these. Let me see, I want to make sure my borders are even on the sides. I want to make sure it's straight if at all possible. That would be nice. Okay, so I get the bottom one looking straight. Then, okay, so there you go. So that's one of the cards right there. Now what you could do, and I'm not going to take the time to do it now, but for your card liner, you could just use one of the masks to do just maybe a corner. Okay, not to do the whole thing inside, although if you use light colors, you could write on that if you wanted to. I'm not going to say that you couldn't. I don't have any images. There are no... Am I lying? There are no images, so this is interesting. There are no images with that stamp set. However, the die cuts cut out flowers, so I could certainly use flowers that are die liner. So I'm leaving this little piece of paper in here so that I remember what combinations I used on this one when I made it. All right, so the same is true for these. Because of the big edge, we'd have to cut them down quite a bit. And even the 4 by 5 1/4 that I like to use seems like it will not be quite small enough. So we'd have to trim them down a little bit more. But I'm going to put those aside for the moment, because what I want to do now is show you how I did the cards, or how I did the fronts. Well, I'm having second thoughts. So when I do this type of thing with a stencil or a mask, I usually cut card pieces that are, like I said, a quarter of a sheet, so that I have lots of room because I know I'm going to cut them down. So my question is, if I actually used a card front size, where's number one? If I actually used a card front size, then I would pretty much know, well, no, because there would still be edge. So I would still have to cut it down. But I might not have to cut it down as much. Let's give it a try. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about, sometimes I don't. All right, so what I do is I take some, put very much of it on the paper because it can tear the paper, which is the other reason for having a wider border. I just put it right on the very top so it's barely touching it, but it'll hold it in place. I use these pieces for all of the ones I did earlier. And then I take the stencil and I put it on top. And I try my best to make sure that it's straight and that what I can see through there is the same on all the sides. And then I grab some tape and I tape the stencil down as well. So now the hope is that nothing will move, but I still keep a pretty good hand on it, okay? So now I need to find my brushes that are reddish. That's reddish, pinkish, purplish, I don't know. And I've got a small one. And I think the rest are all browns and yellows and blues. So what I'm going to do is grab a scrap paper. And the first thing I like to do is just take the brush, the blending brush, and just rub it off a little bit. And you can see that there is some red in there. It's not a lot. It's not like a dark red, but I just want to get any excess off so that I'm not transferring. This looks like it would be something like Pretty in Pink or something very, very light. Then it might matter. But this is just sort of like a way of cleaning the brush off a little bit. They can be washed with warm soapy water and then like hung upside down over something so that they can drip dry. You don't want them this way because if they are glued in, which I suspect they are, that might loosen the glue. This one doesn't seem to have a lot of stuff on it, so that might be a good place to start. So let's see. If I start with this one here, then I think I want light to dark. Let's do a light to dark. Okay, number 1 and number 5 is what I did the last time. Like I said, you don't have to keep doing the same things, but on the other hand, I'm kind of curious. So let's start with the lightest, which I think would be the bubble bath. Fresh Fresh is pretty light too, but let's try the bubble bath. So bubble bath is pretty light. All right, I think I do want a bigger brush though, because I don't want to take all day doing this. So we'll take the bigger brush and hope for the best. So then you just kind of go around like this, and then you do a little bit of a tap off. And it doesn't look like that's necessary because it's such a light color. I'm using the blending brushes, whether you're using a stencil or not. Keep in mind that you can keep building color, but if you suddenly realize it's darker than you wanted it to be, there's really nothing you can do. So it's a good idea to build color. And then after I get around, and I think I've got all the areas, then I'm going to say, okay, I missed the edges here, and I missed a corner there, and maybe I missed the middle because I tend to stick to the edges. So I kind of, take my hands off and look, and I can see. I don't know if you can. Okay, so I'm frozen again, and you're not seeing anything that I'm talking about right now. At least I don't think you are. It's weird, though, because I'm not frozen on the camera. On the camera, I'm moving. I never quite know what that means. And I'm not getting a message that it's not moving. So I don't know, and I hate to refresh it while I'm recording because I don't know what that does. That could be bad. go with my computer is frozen. Nobody's telling me different. Okay, so there you go. Now I'm pretty happy with it. You can lift up a corner gently and take a peek underneath and see for yourself if it looks like you want it to look. And I think I'm happy with it. So Bubble Bath is the lightest. So now I have a choice. I could go with Melon Mambo, which would be way darker. I could go with Berry Burst, although I think Melon Mambo coordinates with it better. I think Fresh Freesia would not be much of a contrast. Let's try the Melon Mambo and see how that goes. Now, Melon Mambo, if I don't tap off, I could get some of those ugly blotches that we sometimes get when we do things like this, and we don't want blotches. Oh, I forgot to change the MAC. Got that pretty much just in the nick of time. All right, so what did I do with the other one? Here it is. Okay, shoo. Okay, so now I need to line these up so that these little lacy designs are smack in the center. And I have to not just check the top or the bottom, but I have to check all the sides. Because if I have it tilted one way or the other, look. All right, so, and I may have to tilt it this way a little bit too. So once I'm sure that it's right, even if it's crooked, if it was crooked before, we want it to be crooked again, if that makes sense. So I'm going to tape this down. Oh, I'm so glad I caught that before I got much further. Okay, where were we? So you will probably see where I goof here all the way through. Like if it's darker in some spots and lighter in others, I think that's actually interesting. So those are the things I really don't sweat. You know what I mean? I just don't worry about them. It's art, if you want to look at it that way. It's a type of art, and there is no perfection. At least not in my world of art. There's no perfection. I'm not saying that the Mona Lisa was not perfection or that the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel was not perfection, because I'm sure it is. But in my world of art, perfection doesn't exist, so don't worry about it. Okay, I'm getting a message. That's a little weird. Thank you, but no thank you. Okay. All right, so let's lift that off. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Okay. And again, here was darker because that's where I made the mistake, but here was darker because I just happened to make it darker. Here's a little bit lighter, and I don't think that matters. All right. Again, that's just me. So we've got one of those done. Come here. And I'm just going to peel that off gently. All right, and then this time, I know I used the number 1 mask a lot. Let's kind of pretend the number 1 mask doesn't exist for a minute and just try something totally different. I don't know. Like what would happen if we did 3 and 4? They're sort of sequential, so it seems like they should go together. Stampin' Up!, to the best of my knowledge, has not put out a video yet. Sometimes they do. They certainly don't with every product. But sometimes they put out a video with like some little hints about how to use it. And sometimes they do not, for sure. Okay, so for this one, I'm using the big piece again. That one, I tried the smaller piece. I think it's kind of a toss-up about how much it really matters, to be honest with you. All right, let's see. I am refreshing because my computer's not the same thing as the camera. Okay, and there we are. That's weird though. Okay. All right. So I'm back on the computer. Whatever was wrong with that, I don't know. I think my computer is probably getting full because I save a lot of stuff. Probably more than I need to save, but I do, so it's probably getting all jammed up. Oh, you know what though? I gotta put that on first. And then put that on, and then double check this, make sure it really is straight. I think it is mostly straight. And put some tape on there, and you notice I still kept my hands on it. All right, so we did Melon Mambo and we did Bubble Bath. So let's try Berry Burst and Fresh Freesia. Let's start with light again, light first. Let me see if that will work. I think it, I don't know, I feel like these two may not be made to go together. But you know what? We're going to do it anyway. We're just going to see what happens. So I'm going to start with the fresh freesia. So like I said, Stampin' Up! Has not put out a video demonstrating this product, and they don't for everything. And not a lot of demonstrators that I've checked out have done too much with it. A few have, but not a lot. Okay, so fresh freesia is a pretty light color. There might still be a little bit of Melon Mambo on here, so I'm going very lightly. Just kind of checking that out. Okay, it's interesting though, because not a lot comes off of it, so I don't worry too much about colors contaminating other colors, unless I'm using yellow or something like that. I haven't washed them in quite a while, and I haven't really felt a strong need to either, but you can. It seems like I miss this area a lot, down the right side and center right. So I'm going to pay a little bit closer attention to that. And then I probably miss these areas where I've got my fingers. So we'll go over those a little bit more heavily. And then up the right again. And across the top. And then just give a couple of good swirls in the middle. I don't want it to be like invisible light. I just want it to be light. Okay, so let's see. Oh, that looks pretty good. So that was mask number 3. And then we were going to try mask number 4 right on top of it. I'm not quite sure how this is going to come out. I'm really not. I have my doubts, actually. No, I don't think so. And it would have worked better if I'd started with dark. But I didn't start with dark because I thought I was going to get a different look. So what if I go back to number 1, even though I said I wasn't going to use it? Not sure about this either, but we're experimenting, right? So that's how you learn. Because these things don't necessarily come with instructions. The idea is you're supposed to play a little bit and try to figure it out. And that's okay with me. I do want to just at least see that if I'm making a mess, that it's going to be an even mess. Okay, so, yeah, I don't know. I think Berry Burst is just going to cover up everything, and I don't think it's going to give me what I'm looking for, but I'm going to play anyway. So let's just do it. Let's try a corner and just see what happens. If I do a section, I think it's just kind of obliterating. If I do the Berry Burst very light, it'll be okay. So this one definitely should have been done dark to light. Okay? So we'll remember that. Dark to light would have been better. So I'm going to make it a very light Berry Burst. I'm not going to put it on too heavily because I don't want to make the fresh freesia underneath disappear completely. Okay, so that's not bad. I'm okay with that. But we did lose a lot of the fresh freesia, but you can still see it for sure. You can see the smaller little squares inside the bigger ones. All right, so that's not bad. All right, so you get the idea. That's how we do that. I don't want to take too much time doing that, but you get the idea. You can use one mask only. I think you could use 3 or 4. I'm not sure how many you could use. I could probably add this one in another color, and that would be kind of cool. So I think you can use as many as you want, and as I learn more about it and play more about it, I can share that with you as well. So we've got these now. We've got 2 of these, and we've got some card bases. So let's see. We have Fresh Freesia, Bubble Bath, Fresh Freesia, Bubble Bath, Berry Burst, and Melon Mambo. So these two are like maybe a little bit more on the purplish side, and these two are a little bit more on the pinkish side. At least that's my opinion. I think this would be kind of cool for that. This is the Berry Burst. So let's cut this one down and let's see what we've got going. And then I have another thought that might involve not using the Berry Burst, and I'll show you why in a minute. But let's just get this cut down. So we're going to cut it down to, what did I do the last time? 3 5/8, and that worked out okay. 3 5/8. That cat is so quiet. She's right across the hall in the guest bathroom because there's really nothing in there she can hurt. The last time I caught a cat, a stray cat, I don't think she was a feral. The poor thing was in heat though, and every cat in the neighborhood, every tomcat in the neighborhood was hanging out at my house. All right, by 4 7/8. She was just crazy. Maybe that's what happens to you when you're in heat. I don't know. But she made noise and, just tried to break out of the crate, and I was so afraid she was going to, well, she did hurt herself. She hurt her nose a little bit. But, okay. So now that could go on there by itself. The other option would be to use the lighter color, to use the Fresh Freesia, and then have Berry Burst underneath for a pop of color. And maybe just like the littlest bit of it underneath. So I could take, as I saved pieces of everything, so what if I would have to make it just a little bit bigger than that. If we did, well, I'm going to make it a tiny bit bigger. I'm going to make it 4 1/4, and I may have to trim it down, but we'll say 4 1/4 by 4 3/4 instead of the 4 by 5 1/4. Let's just see what that does. Because I really just kind of wanted it to be just, oh yeah, I screwed that up. All right, well, you know what? This is what we're going to do. When you screw it up, just make it work, right? It's like that when life gives you a lemon, make lemonade. We can do that. And that's not bad looking either. And we could move it up, and then we could put, we could put this sentiment on the bottom, and we could put it, we could put it on a strip of this. Let's try that. Okay, so first I'm gonna put this onto this first. Where'd the glue go? I see all kinds of people are messaging me about that cat. I do have one person who's offered to foster her, which is great. But I want to get her to the vet tomorrow, and first of all, I have to get her tested, make sure she doesn't have any diseases. That's why I'm glad my cats are at home right now. They're visiting with my daughter. We have shared custody of the cats. And then no veterinarian will let a stray cat out of their office without a rabies shot, which is fine. And from what I understand, it really can't hurt them if they've already had one. It's okay. They can have another. Okay, yeah, my measuring skills on that one, or really what I should say is my math skills on that one, were definitely lacking. I don't know what I was thinking, but it wasn't good thinking. It wasn't straight. All right, so we're going to put that up towards the top so that the border on the top is very similar in narrowness to the border on the sides. Oh my goodness, I just can't get this right. Let's see. This little wiggle jiggle thing that I do is how I move a card over or a layer over when I didn't get it straight. And it seems to work much better than just like ripping it up and trying it again. And as I'm wiggling it, I kind of pull it with one thumb the way I want it to go. and push it with the other. And it does seem to work for me. Maybe not today, but usually it does. All right, that's not too bad. I can live with that. So then this is my little baby trimmer. Oy. It fell down. Okay, so then this could be, let's do this. Sometimes when you're doing this, it's a good idea to just glue it on first and then trim. So we're going to glue the sentiment. By the way, as silly as it sounds, just a note is kind of one of my favorite sentiments because it can be turned into, it just stays just a note on the front and you don't write anything, or you don't put anything on the inside except what you're writing. Or it could be just a note to say happy birthday, or just a note to say get well soon, and then you've got a card that's already made that you can use for almost anything. So that's why I like just a note. We always have at least 1 or 2 stamp sets that are current that have just a note, and we have had them in all different fonts and all different sizes, and it's just one of my favorites. Right up there with hello, which is about as simple as they come, but I love it. Okay, so now we can put this here, and this doesn't look like so much of a goof. We could have centered it, I know we could have, and maybe that would be your choice to center it, but that's what I decided to do. We could put it up a little bit higher, and we could put a ribbon there. Whatever you like to do, you can do. There are no rules. That's what I always tell people. There are no rules in crafting. If you're a true artist, there certainly are rules. Like there are colors that you know you'd never mix together unless you wanted to make mud. So I think if you're a real artist, there are definitely some rules. But then again, probably people like Vincent van Gogh and some other people, they broke a lot of rules, probably. Okay, so there we go. Very simple. Now, that being said, it's almost too simple. So when I get this out to play with, this might be a nice thing to put a little piece of greenery here and a couple of flowers right there. I think that would look really nice. I just have to play with that and see how that comes out. So that would be card number 2. I kind of lost my whole thing of using my little pieces of paper because I don't know what I did with this one anymore. I did, what did I do? 1 and 4? Was it 1 and 4? Yeah, 1 and 4. I did a 1 and 4 with one of the other ones, so I'll take that and put that inside just to kind of remind myself of what I did. So that one's ready to go, but with no insides in it, which is okay. And then, let's see, I promised you 3 cards, so we still have lots of choices, though. So we have this one, which are basically the same, but just in 2 different colors. And then we have this one, and, we got lots, don't we? And we have that one. So we already have 1 pink and 1 of the bluish green. We haven't used this pattern, though, and I like that pattern. So let's do that one. And I actually I'm a little bit behind in my card sending of late, so I'm thinking that these will become some of those. All right, so we're going to cut this down. And again, it's looking like it's going to be 3 and... Oh, see, now that's different. 3 3/4. Oh, no, it's not. It's going to be 3 5/8. Yep, that's, I think, going to be pretty consistent here. 3 5/8. And then it should be by 4 7/8. Is that what I said? Let's see. So we just trim that part off, and then that's how we figure out what's left. So 4 7/8. Yes, perfect. Except that I can't get it lined up. There we go. Okay, 4 7/8. So it's going to be the same deal every time. We either choose to just use it as it is, or to do something to make it a little bit different and to give it more layers. And we've done that with each of the previous cards. So how about something different this time? And the only sentiment that I have pre-stamped is I used the Coastal Cabana, so we certainly don't want to use that with this color combo, so we'll have to come up with another one. Let's see, what else have I got here? Maybe the Just a Note would be good. Or wait, what's this one? Oh, this one is So Happy for You. So let's use that one because that's the one I did on the other one, but we didn't get to use. So we've got So Happy for You. And let's see, what have I got? Oh, that's Pretty in Pink, not Bubble Bath. Let's see. I'm looking for scraps, and I'm not really finding scraps. I'm finding half cards, which I hate to waste, but I will. Well, that's Fresh Freesia. That's Bubble Bath. Until I see them side by side, I get them mixed up. So we used Fresh Freesia and Berry Burst, so I want to use the Fresh Freesia. And let's see, we're just going to cut a strip. Maybe 3/4 of an inch wide. Well, you know what? We can just turn that into a fun fold and it'll be fine. So 3/4 of an inch by, we want to go across the whole card, which should be 4 1/4, right? So by 4 1/4. Okay. And then there it is. I found out earlier that the oval punch works perfectly with that, which gives me another idea. All right, let's stamp it in the Berry Burst. And let's not get it upside down. Looking for my pad here. Here it is. So when you're using the photopolymer stamps, you definitely want to get either your, whatever it's called. You want to get something squishy underneath it. Stampin' Pierce mat. And I think I had one years ago, and I honestly don't know what became of it. So I use this for now. All right, so the nice thing about using a punch is that if you don't stamp straight, you're okay. It's possible that I should have stamped in the other direction, though, so we'll find out in a second. If this is too wide for this, or if this is going to be, it's going to be just right. So if I had stamped it crooked, then I just change the way I angle it in the punch, and then it doesn't matter. All right, So Happy for You. So that, again, could be anything. So happy for you because it's your birthday, because you graduated, you got engaged, you got married, you got out of jail, I don't know, whatever. Okay. So we're going to glue this one down onto here. If I can find my glue, there it is. And so now we've got that wide border, which is okay. Especially if it's a color you like. Why not show it off a little bit? All right, and then we've got this, which is going to go across from side to side. Okay, there we go. Now you could put this like at the 2/3 mark, you could put it at the halfway mark, it's entirely up to you. Sometimes it's easier not to make it at the halfway mark, then, excuse me, then you don't have to worry about it being crooked. It's so hard to tell with this pattern if something's crooked on it or not, kind of, but it actually, the pattern's helping me see that it's even. All right, and then we could do that. If we wanted another pop of color, we could take, oh wait, here's a scrap. We could take the Berry Burst and we could punch out another one of the ovals. And we can do one of two things. We can just offset it a little bit, or one of my favorite things to do, I got these big honkin' scissors here. One of my favorite things to do is to cut it in half, and I know that's not really in half, but it honestly doesn't matter for what we're doing. Cut it in half, put some glue on the back, and then just put it on like that and manipulate it until you have it so that it's kind of even. And then when you do the other side, do the same thing so that they're both showing the same amount. So that's why it doesn't really matter if they weren't cut in half, but it will matter if one of them is like showing this much and one of them is showing just a little bit. So you want to try to keep that kind of an even amount between the two of them. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and then I will put at least 2 dimensionals on the seam there, so to speak, just to add a little bit of extra protection for that. And then I'll probably put like one here and maybe one in this sort of corner here. I realize ovals don't really have corners, but you know. So that's really, the phone is telling me it's in low battery mode and it's plugged in. So I don't get that at all. So, well, I'm going to try to finish up here then, just in case, because we don't want that dying on me. But if it's plugged in, I don't know how it can be having a low battery. And I can see where it's plugged in. Okay. So there we go. And I like that too very much. And that one also used 1 and 5. All right. So, oh, and here's another one for 1 and 5. Again, I'm not going to do the insides right now. I think maybe I'll wait and use some of the die cuts for that, just to zhuzh it up a little bit. And certainly on this one, I feel like this one could use a little something, something. All right, so here are our 3 cards tonight, but we actually did enough stenciling to make 6 cards, so I'll probably continue off camera to make the rest of the cards. And there they are, and I hope you like those. The stencils are a lot of fun, and I'm guessing there's even more that we can do with them. The other thing that you can do with them, which I don't have time to show you tonight, is to take one of our Stampin' Spritzers. This one has alcohol and some kind of shimmery stuff in it. And this one has just water in it. And you can add some of the re-inker, and you could spray it over the stencil. So it'd be a very different look. You wouldn't get a quite as, it wouldn't be quite as sharp. As much of a sharp image is what I'm trying to say, but you could still do that. Or you could spritz the paper first instead of doing a background, make the spritzing your background, and then stencil over it. So there's a bunch of different things you can do, and I'll try to show you some of those things as well. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Catch me on the replay. Please leave a comment if you're here, because Facebook likes when you leave comments. Otherwise, they think you hate me. Like, I'm serious. They just decide if you don't leave a comment that you didn't like anything you saw, and so why bother showing anybody my stuff anymore? And that's exactly what happens. So please leave a comment. I appreciate it very much, and I will see you next week. Oh yeah, I got all kinds of messages here. Have a great week. Take care.